Welcome to the Conference Insider, Procurement Edition, the show that gives you inside access to the procurement conferences shaping our industry, so you can discover and assess which ones are the best fit for your role and priorities. In a market where every event claims to be essential, clarity matters. Our goal is simple: expand visibility, improve decision-making, and raise the standard how procurement professionals evaluate conferences. There are more conferences than ever. Time is limited, budgets are tight, and it's often hard to know what you'll actually get before you commit. This show is designed to provide the clear context so professionals like you can decide if a conference is worth the investment. I'm Ryan Bradford, and joining me is our amazing co-host and industry leader, Amanda Prochaska. Amanda?
Nice to be here, Ryan. What a fantastic intro that you just did. As someone who attends a ton of conferences, I'm excited to share what we've learned and then also introduce the conference hosts to our audience.
Well, thank you for that. I'm excited too. And today we're going to take an inside look at the Wolfpack Summit by Konnecthouse, happening in Nashville, April 15th and 16th, 2026 this year. And this event is positioned as the ultimate gathering of solo procurement pros and leaders of small, agile teams. As we take an insider's view of this conference, there are a number of questions we want to explore. And questions that I have is why it matters right now, who it's designed for, what will attendees walk away with, what's the experience and networking environment really like, what's new this year, and why it's particularly relevant given today's procurement challenges. So, Amanda, when you consider conferences like this, what matters most to you?
To me, it is a couple of things. First off, it's the networking, right? Because the people that we meet at these conferences, that's where ideas are generated, where motivation exists, where we might get that one golden idea that we can take back to our organizations. And most of the time, while the sessions are fantastic, most of the time I either follow up with the speaker and get those golden nuggets, or I meet someone in the hallway or at lunch. So the networking is really, really important and valuable. The second thing that I always like to think about is, where are we going next, right? Those insights that we can gain from the speakers on stage will help us plan and anticipate not only for ourselves, but for our teams as the world is changing very, very rapidly these days.
Excellent. All right, well, let's dig into it.
The industry is on the cusp of a total revolution.
More and more people are seeing the value of procurement.
If we can do a better job leveraging data, we can change that perception.
If you are a lone wolf and you're not at this event this year, go to the next one.
Claire and Sophie, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you both are working on a number of upcoming events, and thank you for taking the time today to join us. So Claire, let's start with you. What's your role in the conference?
Hi, Ryan. Hi, Amanda. Great to see you both today. Well, I'm a founder at Konnecthouse, and my role is very much the market research for all of the events that we do. I put together the programs, the speakers, work hand in hand with Sophie, and obviously deliver the events on the ground as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us. Sophie, tell us about your role at the conference.
Hi guys, thanks for having us. So again, co-founder of Konnecthouse, and when it comes to our events and specifically the Wolfpack Summit, I'm the head of partnerships. So my role is to connect brands with the audience and make sure that they're showing up in very meaningful ways.
Oh, fantastic. Our first question that we want to ask is, why does this conference matter for procurement today? So Claire, I'll address that to you. Maybe you can kind of kick that off for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it might be useful as well just to kind of talk about why we built the Wolfpack Summit in the first place, why we created the event. Um, Sophie and I have been in events for a very, very long time, and been working on sort of procurement conferences for at least 4 or 5 years now. And what we found was that there were a number of small teams attending conferences, large conferences, and feeling incredibly overwhelmed, rubbing shoulders with CPOs from huge global enterprises and having nothing in common in terms of budget, strategy, team size. And what we wanted to do was deliver a space that was purely focused for those solo procurement practitioners and those small team leaders, so that every conversation, every person you meet, every vendor you talk to is there because they are there to solve and deliver and overcome the same challenges as everybody else in that room. So you're guaranteed 100% of those conversations are super, super valuable.
Yeah. And I'll say, just from attending last year, Claire and Sophie, the community that you could just feel walking into the room, like the conversations that were happening at the table and in the hallways and on stage, it just felt like a very tight knit group who were all facing the similar challenges, looking for similar solutions to moving forward. And man, it was an innovative group too. Like it was so fun to be there and hear those conversations happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And we run the event in collaboration with Procurement Pack, so with Paul Nilsson, who you know very well. And Paul has an incredibly engaged audience. They have monthly meetups, they have a very active WhatsApp group, and it's a chance for everybody that comes to this event to meet monthly, regularly, have that kind of support network. Paul has helped us kind of curate the program when we launched it in 2025 with a number of other advisors who I could name. I will probably name them later. And it's with his support and direction as well that we've been able to deliver this, because it gives that community that he manages daily a chance to kind of come together and be in a sort of live space, not just online, but actually in person. So just wanted to do a little shout out for Paul there in the Procurement Pack. If you're not a member, then that's something you absolutely should go and join. But going back, Ryan, to your original question of why this conference today, we all know that procurement is very much at an inflection point, with lean teams navigating margin pressures, tariffs, geopolitical risk, AI, the shift from experimentation to real execution, all without adding headcount in most cases. And those lean teams are being asked to deliver more savings, more speed, stronger risk controls. So we brought this program together. We've built this program for those teams who have very small resources but are doing huge amounts of work. It provides very practical experiences. People will walk away with practical playbooks, lots of actionable insights, tangible execution, tangible application, not just theory. You know, it's a chance for everybody to really kind of come together and bring it alive and walk away with useful insights. As you mentioned, Amanda, those little golden nuggets that they can take back to the office, hopefully.
Yeah, and I walked away from the conference last year, and I remember telling myself that was one of the most scrappy group of people I've ever met. You know, because they're challenged with very limited resources, very limited budget at times, right? Although there's more investment going in, you could see these teams growing from a technology standpoint and other innovation, but they were just very creative in how they were solving the challenges of the day, and just a really scrappy group of people.
Small teams and how they best solve the challenges that they're facing.
I just think we're really intentional with the audiences that we're trying to bring together at Konnecthouse. We see a lot of success in focusing on specific themes or for specific audiences, and I think the Wolfpack just delivers that. Every conversation in the room really is relevant.
Who's this conference designed for?
It's designed for lone wolves, leaders of more agile procurement teams, but specifically within that, it's those who are heading up procurement and strategic sourcing. Teams of 1 to 10, majority of the leaders in the room are managing those size teams, if not doing it on their own. So if anyone tuning in, if you are building or modernizing the procurement function without the big company infrastructure, then the Wolfpack is your environment. It is actually also great for enterprise teams as well, the ones that are still operating lean and want to modernize fast. So it's really for people who value depth over scale, I'd say. And those who'd rather have 5 meaningful conversations than 200, conversations that perhaps don't necessarily matter or are not relevant.
I'm going to borrow that phrase, those who value depth over scale. I'm going to steal that phrase from you.
100%. It is, if you think about like that group of people, the challenge of just growing a team, right? But also, I think someone told me last week, it was kind of funny. He was like, we're building the plane as we're flying it. But then he also was like, well, we might be crashing it too at the same time, like flying it. But that's the challenge, right? Like a lot of these people are doing the work, but they're also trying to grow their team at the same time. And that is unique to this group of individuals, right? Because a lot of larger companies, you get hired into a role, you already have a team in place doing the work, and then you can think strategically, but they're doing it all at the same time, which is truly a unique skill set to this group of individuals.
Next question I want to ask is, what will attendees learn?
Yeah, I mean, in addition to what we've kind of covered around the networking and all of the value that goes with those conversations, some of the core themes that we're looking at for 2026, obviously modern procurement for lean teams, what to prioritize, what to ignore, what to automate, what not to automate. There is a lot of focus around AI adding value. So lots of interest, conversations around practical use cases on analytics, reporting, negotiation, supplier intelligence, intake is a big one this year. We've got some deep dives going on around intake and orchestration, looking at the kind of rollout, adoption, ROI, what makes a good intake tool. It'd be an interesting one for the vendors. We've got some intake orchestration vendors on site, so there'll be lots of good conversation around what's good, what's not working, what's bad. Contracting, lots around contract, de-risking contracts, and obviously risk, third-party risk, those sorts of elements, and stakeholder influence. So that alignment with IT and other key stakeholders in the organization is a conversation that comes up again and again. I think, what we focus on, just in terms of the kind of core content and the themes that are happening in procurement are super valuable, but we always bring that personal development element to our events as well. So there are conversations around leadership and careers and all of those personal development side that are critical in a role like this, where it is essentially just you building your brand, your own identity within the organization, having good communication conversations with stakeholders. It's essential because it's just you and you're there as the voice of procurement to everybody else in that organization. So that whole personal development piece is super important at this event, and we cover a lot of angles on that as well.
One thing that I thought about last year was, Sophie, you did an amazing job bringing in the sponsors. And, when you had those little side moments where the sponsors could demo their product and talk through what that looks like, that was also super valuable because you heard things on stage and then you could go see how they were being applied within the sponsors' solutions. I heard a lot of amazing feedback about those sessions and it was almost like immediate application, and they could see different concepts on stage coming to life through those demos. So kudos to you for bringing in some amazing sponsors too.
Oh, thank you. We try and do things a little bit differently. We don't have the traditional expo that you see at other events. And, really the research that Claire and I were doing around this event is trying to find formats and ways to bring in the vendors that is meaningful and is going to be valuable for the audience. And they said it would be really useful to sit and have a showcase or walk through a solution and benchmark it with our peers in real time. And it's really interesting, I think, for them to hear what questions others are asking, especially if someone in the audience is already using the tool, how they're utilizing it. And it works really well. And that's a format now that we not only see at the Wolfpack Summit, but most of our events.
I heard a lot of great things about the roundtables. Those seemed very engaging. We did last year. We did a couple of those. Are you going to have, how many roundtables sessions are you going to have this time around?
So they run on the first day and the second day, and they're a key part of what we do. And as you rightly said, it's where really good, deep conversation happens. So we like to have the main stage where we're talking bigger picture in some sense of the content there, but the roundtables allow you just to dig a little bit deeper, actually have conversations with peers about certain challenges around a specific theme or tool or product or whatever the conversation is about, and brainstorm with each other there and then on what they're doing and how you might think to do things differently. So the roundtables are a key element in day one and day two. And in addition to those roundtables we had in 2025, we have more focused workshops this time, because that element of diving a little bit deeper into the detail came through as something that people wanted to explore more this year. So we have breakouts with workshops that are a little bit longer, a little bit more in depth. We've got some cool stuff like live AI agent builds going on, kind of walking through the step-by-step process. So there's a lot more focus on that practical engagement and learning element than we've had in 2025.
Of all those kind of sessions you talked about, is there any that you're most excited about, or do you have a favorite going into this event? Like, this is definitely
and Ryan's session. They're going to be
I think the audience is really going to tune in to the agent build. We've done that now at a couple of other events, and the feedback has been absolutely phenomenal. I think, no matter what AI maturity each person has in the audience, being able to see it happening and how to do it is just, and that it can be done is, I think it's really interesting for people to see. So I'm excited for that session, and I'm sure the rest of the audience will be.
We actually just did an agent build too live on a webinar through Wonder Services, and it's interesting to see like people's eyes like opening up and light bulbs going off. It's almost like you're showing them the art of the possible when you can build an agent live right in front of them. So I'm excited about that session too, to see the excitement that's going to be in the room as a result.
I'll be there taking some notes for myself as well. I'm looking forward to that session. Anything else? I know there's some after party stuff that potentially that might be of interest to some of our attendees.
So, I mean, if with thinking about the overall networking experience, I think with our events, a lot of the time, especially this one, the Wolfpack Summit, people say it very much feels like a high school reunion. And I think because the event is intentionally intimate, people are more candid. Intimacy creates honesty, and honesty creates progress, and people walk away making real friends. Hence why they probably feel when they come to these events, it's a high school reunion. And a big part of what we do is having some fun activities, because you have to play hard as well as work hard, right? So this year, we're taking everybody out for a drink and some fun the night before. I think we're going downtown Broadway. We've got a rooftop bar. There'll be hopefully not too loud music so people can still talk, but some drinks and some nibbles. And then we always throw a little bit of competition, friendly competition to the mix. So the evening of the first day, we're all off to do putt shack, which I think is mini golf, right, Claire? Which will be fun. Last year was ping pong. Ryan, I think you and I had a great game last year, didn't we?
We did. We took on a few challengers. I'm just throwing that out there.
You're very strong at it. Very impressive.
Sophie, you got some mad ping pong skills. I'll just let our audience know that.
I'll have to start practicing my golf.
that needs to go, Sophie, on your LinkedIn profile.
Let's talk a little bit about who attendees are primarily going to be networking with, a mix, as well as not only a mix of attendees, but mix of solution providers. What are those types of interactions like?
Yes, so we really try to be very purposeful in the groups of people that we bring together at the Wolfpack Summit. We do a lot of profiling of our audience to kind of find out what solutions they're looking to spend budget on, what their challenges are, so that we can make sure, or I can make sure when I'm doing outreach and trying to find sponsors for the event, that we're bringing in the right types of vendors. And then we try and bring those vendors in really meaningful ways. Like we said earlier, we don't have expos. These solution providers, they're called solution providers because they're there with solutions, right? So what we want to be able to is make sure their voice is heard. They tend to host roundtables, and they get really in and amongst the conversation with the buy side practitioners on site at the same time. We bring them in to do the demos as well. We really want people to kind of feel united at the event, and that we're not creating a divide between the practitioners and the vendors in the room. It's really important that everybody is essentially an equal, there to potentially help each other at the end of the day.
Gosh, and that was really felt last year. I can't wait to see it this year. And then I'm watching this video play down below, and it just makes me smile because of all of the amazing people who were there last year. And I can't wait to see who's going to be there this year, but just some fantastic people that were brought together for this conference.
What about like just the energy and the interactions in the room? How about that?
It was through the roof last year.
I
I don't think there was ever a dull moment.
No, I think that's it. And the energy is really high, and a number of people already have great connections and network. But for those people that are new to the event and also potentially not members of Paul Nielsen's procurement pack, it's a chance to really get engaged with a really very, very proactive group who are there to help and support everybody else. And that element really comes through on site. People want to talk, they want to connect, and everyone's very open and honest and authentic with what they're talking about. You know, they're sharing best practices and really getting involved, and they want to help and support each other. And I think that energy and just comes throughout the whole 2 days that you're on site. It's a really great atmosphere to see that happening.
Anything additional that we haven't mentioned before that's new or distinct this year that you want to call out or highlight?
We are trying a few different formats. I mean, Claire mentioned earlier that we're going to be doing a bit more of a deep dive into topics with some workshops, but we're also going to be running the Find Your Pack format. So we really want to be bringing people together and matching them for conversations based on their interests throughout the networking times within the agenda. We really want it to be intentional, people having, intentional conversations rather than awkward conversations, because not everybody's going to know each other at this event. So we're, as event organizers, we're always trying to find different ways and formats that we can just, make it more easy for people to collaborate on their shared and mutual interests.
I was just thinking, Sophie, before you actually just used this word intentional, like everything in this agenda is very intentional. Who you're bringing in as sponsors, who's there, the format of the agenda, how we're interacting. It's all very, very well thought through. So kudos to both you and Claire to make this happen, and Paul and the advisors, because that's really what resonates, is that it's all very intentional.
One final question I have is, why should someone consider attending this conference this year?
Well, I mean, I think that the pressure on procurement teams right now is peaking. They're expected to move faster, deliver measurable savings, strengthen governance, and at the same time figure out how AI fits into their workflows, as Claire mentioned, without additional headcount. So I think for small and lean teams, especially, the decisions they make this year will determine whether they stay reactive or truly become strategic partners to the business. And if they attend Wolfpack this year, they can guarantee that they'll be walking away with some measurable takeaways that they can go and implement right away when they get back to the office.
I keep on reflecting on last year, but there was so many things shared. But what was interesting is that when we were in Chicago for one of your other conferences, people were on stage stating that they learned something from the Wolfpack Summit and applied it over the last, almost 6 months, and they had success with it. So it's not just Sophie and Claire hoping for this to happen, right? It actually did happen last year where they learned something and applied it and were able to celebrate success in Chicago just a few months later.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Absolutely. When you hear people taking away the value, and we have that at the end of every event, if the conversations you talk to people, yeah, and they say, "Oh, I hadn't thought about this, and I'm actually going to do that." And it's incredible to hear it and see it. And the people that come out to these events, they want to learn, they want to progress and move forward, and they see that happening all around them. So I think more people should get out and come to conferences, because it's very easy to just kind of sit back and do your job without thinking what other people are doing and what other new elements there are out there to learn. And the best way to do that is on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate everything you've shared. I think what we've heard is, who it's for, types of teams, what we expect to learn is people on the ground, small teams. Enterprise will also benefit from this. But it's a lot of content that people are going to actually walk away with. They're going to be able to take that knowledge home back to their job. A lot of tech interaction with suppliers and some great networking opportunities. That was my oversimplification.
And a whole lot of fun on top of that.
Absolutely a whole lot of fun. Just for complete transparency, Conference Insider, we collaborate with conference teams to ensure we get accurate information. But our goal is to provide clear context so professionals like you and those that are watching this can evaluate these events objectively. We want our audience to be able to assess carefully, choose intentionally, and if this aligns with their priorities, we'll post a link below where they can learn more about the conference. Claire and Sophie, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights. We greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. It's been fun.
Thank you.
So Amanda, we wrapped up a session with Konnecthouse, just talked about the Wolfpack Summit. Anything we want to share with the audience before we close out today's session?
I would just say that I feel very grateful for Sophie and Claire for putting on not only this particular Wolfpack Summit, but all the rest of the conferences that they're putting on throughout the year. So if people are not aware of the rest of the conferences, obviously we'll be hopefully showcasing them here, but just know that this is one of many that Konnecthouse puts on. And they've all been fabulous. So I can't wait to also highlight the rest of their conferences here on the show.
Very well said. They do produce a number of conferences. I'm looking forward to attending this one, as well as some others later in the year. And it's wonderful to see how they've grown this conference over just a really short period of time, and making some significant waves in the procurement industry and really shaping where we're heading.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see you there too. See you in Nashville here in a little bit.
I will be there. I'm bringing the swagger.
All right.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much. And for our audience, stay tuned for our next episode.
Thank you.